Hi, this is Zach May with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Wednesday, the 26th of February. Something that should actually be on Radio 4 or Bloomberg, etc. But we've got the FTSE 100 to start with, and we've got an uptrend line there, which we've been pointing out for the last few weeks. That level around 86.40, bounced off that a couple of times. There's a resistance line there, the previous target, which is 87.40 now, end of day close above that. And we could be heading up to the top of the channel there from the end of 2023 as high as 9,000 by the end of next month, although it's still not clear what might do that, apart from obviously peace in our time in Russia, Ukraine, etc. RSI bounced above neutral 50, which is a leading indicator on the upside, and so far has done the trick over the last day or two. Moving on to the DAX, which has ignored the horrors of the German elections and gone up by bouncing off the floor of that rising the gap to the upside that we had earlier this month, around 22,100. Above that, we've been looking for the top of the rising trend channel from November as high as 23,300 by the end of next month, or even sooner than that. But great breakout there, interspersed with unfilled gaps to the upside and downside. Moving on to the Dow, which has been the weak link amongst the major indices in the recent past. We've managed to close back above the 50-day line there, 43,600, and above that 50-day line, looking for a third major attempt on breaking 45,000, and then heading up towards the top of the rising trend channel, 46,800. Maybe by the end of next month. On the downside, not expecting anything lower than that January gap floor there, 42,600, which is also the floor of that rising trend channel from March last year. The other point to note, I suppose, is that if you're cautious, you wait to see the RSI push back above neutral 50 versus 42 before you're completely sure that this market may head higher. Moving on to the situation of Bitcoin, where the rug has been well and truly pulled. We did say that 85,000, which was support on the way up, could be the downside target, and so far we've had a low there at 86,000, so still scope for not only 85,000, but also even the 200-day moving average at 81,800. We haven't been below that 200-day line since way back in October, and so far looks as though we're unwinding a lot of the Trump election strategic Bitcoin fund bullishness that we had back in that month. On the upside, need an end of day close at minimum, which would be the old or the initial 2025 support at 89,000, so end of day close above that low from January to get us back up to the 50-day line at 98,000. But at the moment that seems to be and feels a long way away, even though the RSI is now oversold, and the last time we were oversold was back in August, which was basically the low of the last move. So let's see if history can repeat itself. Moving on to gold, where there haven't been such rug pulls, but still a rug pull in terms of yesterday's price action. We've got recent support there at 28.75. We're hoping that that will remain, and while that does remain, then looking for a move up to 3,020 by now the end of next month, and hopefully, as I said, that support, the initial February support there, 28.75, will hold, as will hopefully the RSI 50 level versus 58 at the moment. So at the moment we're buying into dips on the basis that the RSI is on the right side of 50, but obviously that could change quite quickly. Moving on to the stocks, and not many to choose from, given the years of the authorities eroding the stock market with various hurdles and regulations. But we're starting off with the Aminex, which we haven't looked at for a long time. What's interesting here is that we've got an uptrend line there from this time last year. And also, we've got the share price pushing through a now rising 50-day moving average. That tends to be an early bird signal on the upside, above that 50-day line and above that resistance line there from June, around 1.1 pence, looking for at least 1.4 pence over the next week or two. And I suppose, having drifted since last May, you would have thought the last of the weak hands is finally out there, and we would also expect the shares to remain above the 1 penny level. On to Blackbird, where I always think that the CEO there looks like a former 80s pop star. I'm not quite sure which one, whether it's Dexy's Midnight Runners or a similar group. But here we've got a situation where after pulling back from the September peak, around 8 pence, the shares are actually looking quite chipper here. Basically a bear trap rebound from below the August-September support there. 4 3/4 pence. We've got rising 50 and 200-day lines as well, so that's just we're in the run-up to a golden cross. That tends to be the strongest part of the cycle, so on that basis, one would be looking for 9 pence by the end of next month, and perhaps even more than that. Best case scenario at the moment, I suppose, is up towards the 16 pence area, which was an old resistance line projection that I drew from early 2023. But let's say one is disproportionately excited about that, especially given the 3 very strong candles in a row. So opening at the low, closing at the high that we have had, well, not in a row, but over the last week or so. So looking good there. Ideally, we stay above at least the 50-day line there at 4.9 pence, whatever happens. Onto a stock which I hardly ever look at, and which obviously means that hardly anyone else looks at it either. Rising trend channel here for Convatec. Top of the channel there heading for £3.15, and encouraged by that bear trap unreversal that we had going into last week, and the extra gap now through resistance that makes this look very strong indeed. 50 and 200-day lines about to cross upwards as well, and looking forward the top of that channel there, £3.15 by the end of next month, or even sooner. This looks like it's a situation which is on the move, especially given the way that back in November we had fresh lows, so that would have taken out the weak hand. So nobody's going to be in there by accident, which tends to happen before or when there is serious M&A activity. Not saying that that's going to happen here, but it's a £5 billion company. Let's see what happens. Upside valid while we're above recent resistance at £2.52. Onto Corcel, which I've covered quite a lot, partly because there's not much else to cover, but also because the shares remain in recovery mode. Rising trend channel there, bear trap gap reversal, and a gap through the 50 and 200-day line. So this looks as though the 0.28 target there will be hit relatively soon, hopefully at least by the end of next month, while we're above the 50-day line at 0.16. Ideally, we stay above 0.18 mid. Moving on to Cadogan, which is looking quite healthy at the moment, and that is set on the basis that we're in a wide rising trend channel. Obviously, not much in the way of liquidity here or trading volume, but at least we have that long or wide channel there heading towards 9 pence. Maybe we get that by the end of next month if a bit of liquidity kicks in. RSI's bounced off neutral 50 as well in the last week or two, so that is a plus point. I think no issues with liquidity as far as Eurasia mining is concerned. Probably one of the stocks at the moment, given the Russia-Ukraine situation. The company has everything to win from that, probably even more than Putin. Rising trend channel there from back in November. Top of the channel there heading for 8 1/4 pence. And as we were looking for, even on the first rally, above 4 pence, which is the floor of the channel, looking for 8 pence by the end of next month. RSI bounce on neutral 50 as well last week, so that is another positive there. Probably one of the stocks, as I said, off at the moment. Moving along to Great Sun, which I covered in the RNS hot list this morning. We've broken through recent resistance, November-December resistance on decent news today. And as I said this morning, looking for the shares to head back up to 3 pence. Hopefully by the end of next month, especially while they remain on the right side of that 1 3/4 pence area on a mid-price basis. Also, the first signs that the 50 and 200-day lines are both rising, which is another positive indicator that even the 200-day line looks like it's turning around. Moving on to a stock which I don't normally cover, but as I said, the dearth of stocks and opportunities at the moment mean that Pets at Home is in the frame. We've got the shares breaking through that old December resistance there at £2.41. Above that, looking for the shares to head up to as high as £3.10 by the end of next month. Obviously, the initial target would be the 200-day line and the top of that gap down that we had back in November at £2.75. So let's see if that delivers. The poetically named Seascape is next, another rising trend channel here, rising 50 and 200-day lines as well, so expecting the shares to remain above 34 pence in the floor of the channel and heading up to as high as 60 pence by the end of next month, helped along by the rebound for the RSI above neutral 50, the extended one, which is looking very decent, and the sort of hook or U-shaped turnaround that we've had so far this month, a very strong one. On to the last two, and the first one is Sovereign Metals, which has come up with yet another its positive RNSs, still looking for the shares to hit the top of that rising trend channel from the end of 2023 as high as 55 pence, hopefully by the end of this month, although obviously you can see the shares not big on moving around quickly. The stop loss at the moment, the 50-day line there at 38 pence, and we can see that the shares have been at or above neutral 50 RSI for more than a month now, so it looks as though that might positively affect the shares. Finishing on with Vast, which seemed to me a no-brainer when the CEO lent the company 500,000 euros. You don't do that on a casual basis unless you're absolutely loaded, obviously. Here, Vast hit our first target there at 0.21, second target there, 0.28, and looking for that well before the end of next month. And you can see that recent resistance at 0.18 is now new support. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.